When you sell goods abroad, you need to think about where you're going to get the money from. I'm going to go into that in a little bit more detail at the moment, but if you look at the map of the UK, you will see if I'm sitting in Hailsham and I want to sell some goods to London, we're under the same legal system. So if the person in London doesn't pay, I can take them to a UK court and say, "Oi, pay up," and they will. So it's quite easy to sell within the UK. However, if I was sitting in Hailsham and I wanted to send my goods to Greece, if I send my goods to Greece, it's more difficult to get them to pay up. They are part of the EU, so we do have the European Court. However, we're leaving the EU, so if the customer in Greece says, "Now I'm not paying you," what would we do? Now, this is where the conundrum comes. And what we're having a look here, if I was sending my goods to Nigeria, Nigeria is a totally different continent. We have no historical ties with Nigeria. They have a totally different legal system. So if someone in Nigeria took my goods and then refused to pay for them, do you know what? I probably wouldn't know what to do. So that's why we're going to have a look today at how businesses manage this relationship and make sure that when they're dealing internationally, they actually get the money for their goods. So our businesses, they trade everywhere around the world. We buy and sell from so many different countries, and we're going to look at how they're financed. There are three main ways that business can get finance. One is just to pay in advance. Number two is to use a letter of credit. And number three are called export credits. And in this short video, we're going to be having a look at roughly what they are, and we'll be looking at them in more detail in future lessons. The first option that a business could use is to pay in advance. So if I wanted to buy some goods from Australia, I would say, "Please may I have this?" And then I would send them the money for that, and then they would send me the goods. So they are paying for the goods before you get them. This implies quite a high level of trust, because theoretically I could send them the money and they could send me nothing, and then I'd be a bit stuck. Some businesses do this and they do part payments, so they will pay half the money up front and then half the money when the goods have arrived. Again, this is quite a high risk scenario. So businesses will use this if there's little trust between the businesses. So if I have never dealt with a business before, I might ask for the money up front. If I've got an established trading position, I will not ask for money up front. If the country is potentially politically or economically unstable, that things could change between me ordering it and me getting it, if I pay up front, then if I get the people from the politically and economically unstable country to pay up front, then I know I'm going to get payment for the goods before I send them. For instance, Venezuela is politically unstable and economically unstable, to be fair. So if someone from Venezuela wanted to order goods from the UK, I would insist on them paying up front for it, because otherwise I wouldn't be certain I'd ever get any money out of them. Some potential goods have really, really high demand. So when we order our goods, we pay for them. So the price is fixed at the point of ordering, not when they are delivered. So for instance, if I was ordering loads and loads of oil, I would buy it at today's price and pay for it at today's price, even if it was going to be delivered a month later, because I wouldn't know what the price would be in a month's time. So to guarantee the price, I might pay in advance. Another method that a business could use is what's called a letter of credit. Now, what this is, your bank will agree to pay the supplier as soon as the order has been completed. So I bank with HSBC. So if I was a business, and HSBC would say to the supplier, "When Miss Squires gets her goods, I promise to pay you," and it is the bank's word, not just my word. So the bank is guaranteeing the payment. So this means the bank has to have a very good relationship with the person who is importing the goods and has to know that they have enough money in their account to be able to do it. This gives the business assurance that a big bank like HSBC will be sending them the money. The difference is the bank doesn't check the goods. So the bank will pay when the order has been completed, but the bank may not, well, doesn't check the goods. It's on the person who's importing it needs to tell them that those goods are okay. So it can sometimes get a little bit difficult. And the letters of credits are often used when you go through customs, when you go through different country barriers, it's used for proof of value. So this is much better than payment in advance if you can do it, because you aren't paying in advance, you're waiting till the goods are coming, but the person who's supplying the goods knows that they're going to get paid. However, if my bank was the Bank of Venezuela at the moment, I would not accept their letter of credit because they are politically and economically unstable. So you need to be in a stable economy for this to work. The third and final way of financing international trade is export credit. So you are buying the goods on credit. So the supplier agrees the buyer can have the goods up front and pay later. So there's a very heavy amount of trust placed on the buyer because the buyer has the goods and will pay later. So this seems quite a dodgy thing to do. However, there are specialist export credit agencies which deal with this credit, formalises it and legalises it to a certain point. So not just asking the buyer to pay later, but setting up a situation in which they can legally pay later and nobody will lose out. And in future lessons, we're going to be looking at specialist export credit agencies. So what you need to know is the 3 ways: pay in advance, letter of credit, export credit are the 3 ways that international trade is financed.